Zaya Wade's story was never going to be simple. She didn't just grow up as the daughter of an NBA legend. She first grew up as his son. For years, she was known as Zaya's younger brother, Dwayne Wade's boy, a kid who looked like he'd follow the same path as every other Wade child into the spotlight of basketball culture. But everything changed when she transitioned, publicly embracing her identity as a girl. That decision made her a lightning rod in the media. Every headline wasn't just about being the daughter of a Hall of Famer. It was about transition, about identity, about being a teenager living out one of the hardest decisions of her life in front of millions of strangers who thought they had the right to an opinion. For a while, that was her whole story. But by 2024, the headlines shifted again, this time to something even messier, because suddenly, Zaya Wade's name wasn't just tied to her father's legacy, it was being linked to actual NBA players. And it didn't start with a press conference, or a viral interview, or even a red carpet moment. It started with one blurry picture, a birthday party in Los Angeles. Bad lighting, bad angles, but just enough detail to make people look twice. Sitting in the corner, almost hidden, was what looked like Zaya Wade, and next to her, unmistakable in the frame, was Bronny James, LeBron's son, already carrying the weight of his own last name. At first, people brushed it off. Two kids who grew up in the same elite circles, both children of NBA royalty. Of course they'd be at the same party, but then came another photo. Different night, different event, same story. Zaya and Bronny sitting close, laughing, looking comfortable, and suddenly, the blogs had their headline: NBA's next generation power couple? Bronny and Zaya, more than friends. It was gossip, pure and simple, but gossip with just enough heat to make it stick. The internet did what it always does. TikTok detectives began freezing frames, zooming in, analyzing jewelry and reflections. One viral clip compared Zaya's bracelet to the glint of a hand in Bronny's Instagram story. Another claimed the two had been spotted wearing the same sneakers within days of each other. None of it was solid proof, but it didn't matter. The speculation was more entertaining than the truth. And here's the detail that made it worse. Neither of them denied it. No tweet saying this isn't true. No Instagram story putting rumors to bed. Just silence. And silence in today's world doesn't kill a story, it multiplies it. Before long, sports pages were picking it up. Commentators dropped hints during broadcasts. Even seasoned NBA reporters found themselves asked about it during Q&As. Nobody had confirmation, but everyone wanted the narrative. Zaya Wade, the daughter of Dwayne, and Bronny James, the heir to LeBron. Two legacies colliding, but Bronny wasn't the only name dragged into it. A few months later, screenshots started leaking, supposed private DMs between Zaya and a rookie guard who had just declared for the draft. The messages weren't scandalous, flirty emojis, late night what's up, little fragments of conversation. But the internet didn't need context, it needed a story. Fans dissected the slang, matched typing patterns to interviews, even pulled timestamps to see if the rookie's game schedule lined up with when the texts were sent. Nothing was proven, but every guess turned into another headline. And again, silence. No denials, no clarifications, which to fans felt like confirmation. By this point, the narrative had grown beyond control. Zaya wasn't just Dwayne Wade's daughter anymore. She was being painted as the center of a secret dating web tied to multiple NBA players before she'd even turned 20. Each week brought a new rumor. Each rumor brought a new wave of attention. One all-star guard liked her Instagram post and dropped 2 purple hearts in the comments. That single gesture became a week-long debate. Was it innocent, or was he admitting something? Sports blogs spun it into Zaya linked to another NBA star. Talk shows argued about whether it was fair. The story refused to die, and this is where the stakes started to get real. Behind the memes and the gossip, there were agents making phone calls, draft prospects being told to clean up their social media, teams whispering about distractions they didn't want near their locker rooms. Even Adam Silver's office quietly flagged the situation as sensitive, not because the league cared about rumors, but because the league cared about protecting its image. But the internet doesn't care about image. Every time the chatter cooled down, something new fanned the flames. A Snapchat story that mysteriously leaked, a blurry video from Summer League where someone swore they saw Zaya in the stands with a player's family, anonymous tips sent to gossip accounts claiming she'd been spotted holding hands in Miami. None of it could be verified, but all of it spread like wildfire. And through it all, Zaya said nothing. For most kids, dating rumors are just background noise. But for her, every whisper was amplified into headlines, into debates, into narratives she never chose. She had already fought for the right to live authentically as herself. Now she was fighting something even less fair, being turned into a storyline she didn't control. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It was the beginning of a machine. If part 1 was about how the whispers started, part 2 is about how those whispers became impossible to ignore. Because the truth is, it wasn't just random fans and blogs keeping the rumors alive. NBA players themselves started adding fuel to the fire, sometimes by accident, sometimes very much on purpose. The first big spark came during All-Star Weekend. Cameras caught Zaya sitting courtside with her family, watching the Rising Stars Challenge. Nothing unusual. Dwayne Wade is a Hall of Famer. He's everywhere during All-Star festivities. But when the broadcast cut to a shot of Zaya in the stands, fans noticed something. One of the young guards on the court pointed in her direction, cracked a smile, and mouthed something to a teammate. The clip went viral within hours. Twitter was flooded with theories. Some people swore the player had shouted, "That's her." Others insisted he'd blown a kiss. Nobody knew the truth, but the story didn't need truth. It needed attention, and it got plenty of it. Days later, that same player liked one of Zaya's posts. Just a harmless double tap, something celebrities do every day without thinking. But in the context of the clip, it was gasoline on the fire. Sports gossip pages plastered it everywhere. Rising star guard caught flirting with Zaya Wade. By the next morning, ESPN debate shows were joking about it on air. And here's the part that really shook people. When reporters asked the player about it, he didn't deny anything. He laughed. He said, "No comment." And in this business, no comment is just another way of saying, believe what you want. From there, the cycle became predictable. Every interaction, no matter how small, turned into a headline. A rookie followed her on Instagram, must be dating. An all-star reposted her TikTok, secret relationship. Even something as meaningless as a fire emoji in the comments became evidence. And the craziest thing? Some players leaned into it. One second-year guard started dropping cryptic captions on his posts. Lines like, "They can't stop talking about us," and "Silence says everything." Fans immediately tied it back to Zaya, and within hours, hashtag Zaya Wade was trending again. When asked if the captions were about her, he smirked and said, "I don't talk about my personal life." To the internet, that wasn't a denial. That was a confirmation. By the summer of 2025, the story had outgrown social media. Mainstream outlets were covering it as if it were fact. Podcasts dissected the rumors like investigative journalism. Even NBA insiders, people who normally avoided gossip at all costs, started slipping hints into their newsletters. One described Zaya as the most talked about name around draft prospects this year. Another wrote that team execs are quietly telling players to stay out of the headlines. The league couldn't ignore it anymore. According to people close to the situation, NBA front offices were furious. Agents were fielding calls from general managers telling them to keep their clients' names out of the drama. Some rookies were explicitly told by their teams to unfollow Zaya on Instagram just to kill speculation before it spread further. One even deleted half his posts overnight after fans flooded the comments linking him to her. But the problem was bigger than a few social media clicks. Sponsorships were on the line. Shoe companies didn't want their young stars trending for gossip instead of highlight reels. Endorsement managers quietly admitted that a single rumor could shave millions off a rookie's marketability if brands thought he was distracted. And then there were the families. Behind the scenes, whispers spread that not everyone in Zaya's circle was happy with the attention. Dwayne Wade, who had spent years protecting his daughter from the harshest parts of the spotlight, was reportedly furious that her name was being used as clickbait by blogs and gossip accounts. Gabrielle Union, known for clapping back on social media, stayed silent, which ironically only made fans speculate more. But the silence from the family wasn't the most telling part. The real twist came from Zaya herself. She started posting cryptic messages, quotes about loyalty, captions about knowing who's really there for you, lyrics about trust and betrayal. Nothing direct, nothing with names, but just vague enough for fans to connect the dots however they wanted. Each post was interpreted as a hidden message about one player or another. Each one reignited the cycle all over again. And here's where things started to turn ugly. What began as playful speculation was now being used against her. Comment sections filled with hate. Critics accused her of clout chasing. Trolls flooded her DMs with insults. Even some sports analysts started questioning whether the attention around her was becoming a distraction to the young players she was supposedly linked to. But no matter how toxic the conversation got, the story wouldn't die. In fact, it was getting stronger, because every denial, every cryptic comment, every new sighting only made people hungrier for the truth. And the truth was, nobody knew for sure. Nobody knew if Zaya was really dating Bronny. Nobody knew if the rookie guard screenshots were real. Nobody knew if the All-Stars purple heart emoji meant anything at all. But in the court of public opinion, none of that mattered. The verdict had already been reached. Zaya Wade was connected to NBA players, and that was the story people wanted to believe. And if the first half of the story was about how rumors spiraled, the next part is about what those rumors did once the media machine took over. Because by late 2025, this wasn't just gossip anymore. It was headlines, brand deals, and careers on the line. By the time summer turned into fall, the rumors weren't just circulating online, they were dominating headlines. What started as whispers in Twitter threads and blurry screenshots had turned into full-blown coverage across mainstream outlets, and the way the story spread said less about Zaya and more about how the modern media machine feeds itself. It started with the blogs. Every small development, a like, a comment, a rumored sighting got packaged into a headline and blasted across social feeds. Bronny and Zaya spotted again. Rookie guards' late-night DMs leak. Even when the evidence was paper-thin, the stories performed. Clicks meant traffic, traffic meant money, and once a rumor became profitable, it was unstoppable. Then the bigger outlets followed. ESPN couldn't resist dropping sly references during segments. Talk shows treated it like a running joke. Late-night hosts made monologues about the NBA's newest power couple. And even respected insiders, people whose careers were built on credibility, started using phrases like unconfirmed connections and persistent speculation. They weren't reporting facts anymore, they were amplifying noise. But here's the thing, once the noise gets loud enough, it starts shaping reality. Brands that were considering sponsorships with rookies suddenly backed off, not wanting to be caught in a scandal, real or imagined. Teams began adding clauses into player media training, explicitly warning them to stay off gossip pages. One agent admitted privately that his client lost out on a 7-figure shoe endorsement because the brand didn't want distractions, and all of it traced back to Zaya's name. From the outside, it looked like harmless drama, but from the inside, people were panicking. Players' careers are fragile in their first years. One wrong headline can derail momentum before it ever starts. And now, a teenager who wasn't even in the league had become the most talked about figure in their orbit. For Zaya herself, the pressure was relentless. Every post she made was scrutinized, every outing dissected. If she appeared at a game, the cameras cut to her like she was part of the broadcast. If she followed or unfollowed someone, it became breaking news. Even her silence turned into content. What Zaya's not saying about the NBA rumors. And through all of it, her family stayed quiet. Dwayne Wade, who had built a reputation as a fiercely protective father, said nothing publicly. Gabrielle Union, known for addressing controversies head-on, avoided the subject entirely. The silence only deepened the mystery. Were they ignoring it, or did they know more than they wanted to admit? Meanwhile, the players linked to her were making things worse. Some tried to deny the rumors, only to end up looking defensive. Others played coy, laughing in interviews, dropping cryptic emojis, enjoying the spotlight. One young star even teased fans on a live stream by refusing to say Zaya's name, but hinting he was talking to someone famous. Within hours, fans filled in the blanks for him, and then came the leaks. A gossip site claimed to have access to private group chats between players, where Zaya's name was mentioned openly. The chats, allegedly filled with jokes and hints, painted a picture of multiple NBA players competing for her attention. Were they real? Nobody could prove it, but the screenshots spread faster than denials ever could. By this point, it wasn't about whether Zaya had dated one NBA player or 10. It was about the narrative the media had built around her, that she was somehow entangled with the league's rising stars, that she was at the center of a drama shaping careers and reputations, and that narrative was powerful. Because now, it wasn't just gossip accounts profiting from the story. The NBA itself was being forced to deal with it. Insiders say league officials flagged the situation as a reputation risk. They couldn't control what blogs wrote or what TikTokers speculated, but they could control their players. Rookie orientation programs reportedly added sections about social distractions. PR teams began monitoring mentions more aggressively, and behind closed doors, executives muttered about how unfair it was that one teenager not even in the league had become such a disruptive force. But fair or not, the damage was done. By late 2025, the Zaya Wade rumors weren't just stories. They were a backdrop to the NBA season itself. Every time a player underperformed, fans joked it was because he was too busy texting Zaya. Every time a rookie missed a practice, memes linked it to secret dates. It was cruel, baseless, and often misogynistic, but it was everywhere. And the cruel irony? The more the league tried to clamp down, the bigger the story got, because every attempt to silence it looked like proof that something real was happening. Every cryptic post, every smirk in an interview, every leaked screenshot became another thread in the web, and with the media feeding on itself, there was no stopping it. What started as a blurry photo at a birthday party had become one of the NBA's most bizarre scandals. And the deeper people dug, the more they started asking a question nobody wanted to answer. Was this just gossip gone wild, or was there actually truth behind the smoke? By the end of 2025, the story had mutated into something bigger than anyone imagined. What began as blurry pictures and cryptic likes had become a cultural phenomenon, one that the NBA couldn't contain, Zaya couldn't escape, and players couldn't stop feeding. The fallout came in waves. First, the sponsors, shoe companies, energy drink brands, clothing lines. They started quietly rethinking campaigns. One marketing executive admitted off the record that the Zaya rumors made certain rookies look unpredictable. Sponsors want clean, safe faces to sell products. And even though the rumors weren't proven, they were sticky enough to cast shadows over endorsement deals. Then came the teams. General managers and coaches began tightening their grip on young players. Some organizations banned rookies from using certain apps during the season, citing distractions. One team even hired a private PR consultant specifically to monitor and manage gossip tied to their star prospect. They didn't say Zaya's name out loud, but everyone knew why the policy existed. For Zaya herself, the pressure was suffocating. She was 18, still figuring out who she wanted to be, but the world had already decided for her. Every Instagram caption was dissected like a press release. Every time she appeared at a game, the camera cut to her like she was part of the show. Strangers she'd never met debated her private life on podcasts and comment sections. And the worst part? Nobody believed her silence anymore. In the beginning, staying quiet seemed like the safest option. Don't feed the fire, let it die out. But by the end of the year, silence had turned into its own narrative. Fans claimed it was proof she was hiding something. Reporters spun it into mystery. Even players started making jokes about it. She don't deny nothing. One rookie laughed during a live stream, a smirk on his face as fans spammed Zaya's name in the chat. What once felt like gossip now felt like harassment. Her father knew it too. Insiders close to the Wade family say Dwayne was furious behind the scenes. This wasn't the NBA spotlight he wanted for his daughter. He'd fought hard to give her space, to let her grow up with some sense of normalcy despite the cameras. But now, the same league that had made him a legend was the place dragging her name through the mud. But even Dwayne Wade's power couldn't put the genie back in the bottle, because by now, the story wasn't about facts. It was about perception, and perception, once cemented, is almost impossible to erase. The players didn't help. Some still dropped cryptic emojis on her posts, fanning flames even if they were just trolling. Others used her name in group chats or banter, knowing it would leak eventually. One even referenced her in a rap lyric he posted online, a throwaway bar that fans dissected like it was gospel. The NBA could fine players for missing practice. They could suspend them for breaking rules, but they couldn't fine them for fueling gossip, and they couldn't suspend an entire generation of fans who had decided Zaya Wade was the league's new obsession. And that's the real story here, because whether Zaya actually dated an NBA player or not doesn't matter anymore. What matters is how quickly a rumor can take on a life of its own, how silence gets turned into evidence, how perception becomes reality in the age of viral media. The narrative is already written. Zaya Wade, the daughter of a Hall of Famer, linked to the league's rising stars. To fans, it doesn't matter if it's true, it's the story they want, and once fans want a story, it becomes the truth, no matter what the facts say. For Zaya, that means her reputation will forever carry an asterisk. Fair or not, she'll always be the girl whose name trended next to Bronny James, the rookie guard, the all-star. She'll always be the teenager who became a storyline before she was even old enough to step away from it. And for the NBA, it means facing an uncomfortable reality. In a league where image is everything, one teenager outside the game managed to shake the system without ever stepping on the court. By the time the year closed, insiders were calling it the Zaya effect. Players were warned more aggressively than ever to guard their personal lives. Brands started demanding social media monitoring clauses in contracts. And fans, they just kept pushing, waiting for the next blurry picture, the next cryptic post, the next rumor to dissect. Because once a narrative like this takes hold, it doesn't end. It just waits for the next twist. And that's the legacy of this story. Not whether Zaya Wade ever dated an NBA player, but how the world convinced itself she did, and how that story, true or not, will follow her and the league forever.